That was Yossi Shane talking to us earlier. Now, to take a look at what the political uncertainty in Israel will do to peace negotiations with the Palestinians, I'm joined by Ziad Asali from the American Task Force on Palestine. Sir, thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Well, we heard there that it's likely that Tzipi Livni will go to the president tomorrow and ask for new elections. What kind of impact would that have on the peace process?
Well, this is a serious development because it has been more or less anticipated that she will be able to cobble together the coalition that she needed, maintaining the same coalition. The religious parties, Shas and the other ones, just did not go along. They really wanted more funding for their programs, which she was not willing to give. So now this means that the elections will be called and they are likely to take place sometime in mid-February. Polls of today, as you mentioned earlier, do show that Netanyahu is favored to win, but 3 months is a long period of time, and there will be a campaign, and practically what this means is that there will be no decision-making on behalf of Israel for the next 3 months, that is during the period of the end of the term of President Bush.
You know, politicians always say a lot of things before an election, but once they get into power, they say something completely different. If, as in some quarters, is presumed that Benjamin Netanyahu does become the prime minister, how would you rate the chances of peace negotiations then?
Well, at face value, you would have to say that they are not as good as they would have been under Tzipi Livni or a Labour person. We must remember that Likud had made concessions in the past. The leaders, including Begin, Sharon with the disengagement, and Netanyahu himself with the Y River, he did make concessions. But I would not rate the chances of his concessions as being too high or even high enough to be acceptable to the Palestinians. I would, however, think that there is a definite possibility that he may be looking more at Syria than at Palestine as the next move. That is something that he had indicated that he would be interested in anyway.
You know, one of the differences we understand between the smaller parties and Tzipi Livni that led to this breakdown right now was that some of the parties demanded that she not negotiate the status of Jerusalem.
Yes. They said that verbally, and but she told them right at the outset that she will be negotiating Jerusalem, and they continued the negotiations. What they really cared about is the funds for their programs. So they knew right from the outset that she was going to discuss Jerusalem, and they carried on the negotiations. So we have to assume that what mattered to them the most was the issue of their funds. However, Jerusalem is something that is useful for people to take a stand on in Israel, to show that you're patriotic, holding on to the legacy, etc., etc. Everybody who's semi-serious knows that there will be no solution whatsoever without negotiating the future of Jerusalem on a reasonable basis for both parties.
Ziad Asali, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.